So, ladies and gentlemen, may I again have your attention? Shortly, the judges of the Supreme Court will enter the court and be seated at the bench. Would everyone please stand and remain standing until the formal commencement? All stand.
Please proceed.
Admission of lawyers. Miriam Hanim Adewan.
May it please the Court, I move that Miriam Hanim Adegan be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Miriam Hanim Adewan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nushin Bhatti.
Let Nushin Bhatti be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Marina Antoinette Beauchesne.
May it please the Court, I move that my cousin, Marina Antoinette Beauchesne, be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Marina Antoinette Beauchesne be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
George Chris Camino.
May it please the Court that I move my brother, George Chris Comino, be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let George Chris Comino be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Delini Shimali Priyankika Dandanya.
Let Delini Shimalia Dandania be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nicholas James Grogan.
Please the Court, I move that Nicholas James Grogan be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Nicholas James Grogan be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ankit Kapil.
May it please the Court, I move that Ankit Kapil be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Ankit Kapil be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Joshua Ji-Hoon Lee.
May it please the Court, I move that Joshua Ji-Hoon Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Joshua Ji-Hoon Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Lucinda Francis Lester.
May it please the Court, I move that my daughter, Lucinda Francis Lester, be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Lucinda Francis Lester be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Cassandra Poihei Lee.
May it please the Court, I move that Cassandra Poihei Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Cassandra Poihei Lee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nivedita Shankar.
May it please the Court, I move that Nivedita Shankar be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Nivedita Shankar be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Raghavi Shrikantha.
May it please the Court, I move that Raghavi Shrikantha be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Raghavi Shrikantha be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Edwina Mary Still.
May it please the Court, I move that my daughter, Edwina Mary Stewart, be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Edwina Mary Still be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Cheryl Lee Strangio.
May it please the Court, I move that Cheryl Lee Strangio be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Cheryl Lee Strangio be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Clementine Harriet Wilkie.
May it please the Court, I move that Clementine Harriet Wilkie be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Clementine Harriet Wilkie be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Remy Jean Williams.
May it please the Court, I move that Remy Jean Williams be admitted as a lawyer of this Honourable Court.
Let Remy Jean Williams be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will now be necessary for the newly admitted lawyers to swear their oath or affirmation.
Miriam Adewan. Nushin Bharti, Marina Antoinette Beauchahane, George Chris Comino, Delini Shamali Dandanya, Nicholas James Grogan, Ankit Kapil, Joshua Ji Hoon Lee, Lucinda Francis Lester, Cassandra Poihe Lee, Nivedita Shankar, Raghavi Srikantha, Edwina Mary Still, Cheryl Lee Strangio, Clementine Harriet Wilkie, Remy Jean Williams. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability? Please say together either, "So help me God," or "I do." Thank you. Please take your seats.
Well, I would like to warmly welcome all of the newly admitted lawyers, their relatives, friends or supporters to today's admission ceremony to celebrate their admission as a lawyer of this court. This is the first such live admission ceremony we have had in the court since the onset of the pandemic, and the court is delighted once again to be able to conduct such ceremonies in person. They mark a very important and significant milestone in the careers of the newly admitted lawyers, but from the court's point of view, they are also extremely significant and important. But let me first recognise the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and on which this court sits, the land of the Gadigal, of the Eora Nation, and let me pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and indeed to all First Nations people. My role as President of the Court of Appeal is to preside on civil appeals in the Supreme Court and to deputise for the Chief Justice when he is unable to sit. The Chief Justice regrets that he's not able to sit this morning, but has asked me to pass on his congratulations and good wishes to you all. Present with me on the bench today, to my right, is Justice McCallum, who is a judge of the Court of Appeal and was formerly a member of the Common Law Division of the Supreme Court. To my left is Justice Rothman, the senior judge in the Common Law Division of the Court. Judges in the Common Law Division of the Court hear serious criminal cases such as murder and terrorism offences, and also sit on the Court of Criminal Appeal. They also deal with administrative law, personal injury, professional negligence and defamation matters, amongst others. Judges in the other division of the court, the Equity Division, hear commercial cases, corporations, disputes, probate, family provision matters, real property, trust disputes, and exercise the court's important parens patriae jurisdiction. And all appeals, both from judges of the Common Law Division and the Equity Division, and from the District Court and from the Civil Administrative Tribunal, lie to the Court of Appeal and the Court of Criminal Appeal. We are today sitting in the Banco Court, which is used for all ceremonial sittings such as today's, as well as for any other matter in which the Chief Justice presides. And you can see around you on the walls portraits of former Chief Justices going back to this court's inception almost 200 years ago. The fact that we wear the same robes as our predecessors, in some cases literally, is deliberately symbolic. It marks the continuity of the rule of law in this country. The rule of law is a vital element in our democracy, and an independent, impartial judiciary is at its cornerstone. And as I will explain, all newly admitted practitioners will contribute to and play a vital role in the upholding of the rule of law in our society and its communities. Each of the 16 newly admitted practitioners in this ceremony has just sworn an oath or made an affirmation and declaration that he or she will truly and honestly conduct themselves in the practice as a lawyer of this court, and that they will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of the state according to the best of their knowledge, skills and ability. They are solemn obligations, and today, formally, their admission will be recorded on the Supreme Court's roll of lawyers. It is a day of great celebration and pride. It is a day which marks the culmination of legal studies to date, when you can look back with pride and relief on what I know have been endless hours of lectures and days and nights of study. And there can be no doubt that all have worked incredibly hard to get here, particularly in the trying circumstances of the last 12 months. On behalf of the Court, I congratulate the newly admitted lawyers and warmly welcome them to the legal profession. For many of you, and whilst not for a moment underestimating your own hard work, energy and dedication, your achievements marked today would not have been possible without the significant support of your family and friends who've no doubt stood by and encouraged you, no doubt been on the end of your finely honed skills of argument and persuasion, even if in recent times this may have been done remotely. Many of those supporters will be joining you in this celebration, both here and virtually, as this ceremony is being screened, allowing others to participate remotely. Now, in participating in today's ceremony, the newly admitted lawyers have become part of a tradition which dates back to the 12th century, when it first became common for those representing others before the courts to swear an oath before being admitted to practice. The first admission ceremony in this court was held almost 200 years ago in 1824, and it took place only a few blocks away. Testament to the enduring nature of these ceremonies, young lawyers just like you were admitted even during the midst of the Spanish flu and the world wars. Last year we continued with admission ceremonies, although they were all conducted remotely. Today's formal ceremony recognises the commitment you have each made to uphold the rule of law, to administer the law competently and with honesty and integrity, as have centuries of lawyers before you. It's out of respect for this long and proud history that we mark your admission to the legal profession with today's formalities, which also recognise and reflect the institutional continuity of this court. Throughout history, our profession has proved itself adept at change, and never more so than in the last 12 months. We transitioned to a virtual system of justice at previously unimaginable speed, and since March of last year, for example, the Court of Appeal and the Court of Criminal Appeal have each heard more than 400 appeals, each with counsel and solicitors and occasionally judges sitting remotely, although I'm pleased to say the Court has very substantially, albeit not entirely, returned to live hearings. The Court took the view that the rule of law could not be suspended or put on hold during the pandemic, and it wasn't. Of course, the practical changes to the legal profession that we had to adapt to last year are not the only changes that have occurred in this profession. For almost 100 years after the first admission ceremony was held in New South Wales, women were not allowed to be admitted to the profession. In 1982, a woman, Ada Evans, became the first woman to obtain a law degree in Australia, but she was never able to practice because of what we now recognise as unjust and unenlightened laws excluding women from public life. She campaigned tirelessly, the laws were changed, and Murray Biles later became the first woman admitted as a solicitor in the state just under 100 years ago in 1918. She was told, apparently, she would only ever be a typist. Instead, she ended up with her own practice in Eastwood. When my distinguished predecessor as President of the Court of Appeal, the Honourable Margaret Beasley ACQC, was first admitted to the bar as recently as 1975, at a time when there were separate admissions of barristers and solicitors, she was only the 37th woman to be admitted in the history of the New South Wales Bar, which by then had existed for 150 years. She's now the state's governor. In terms of gender equality, we have come a long way. Today, more than half of the solicitors with a practising certificate in New South Wales are women. 2/3, or almost 2/3 of the council of the New South Wales Bar Association are female barristers. Many of the most senior positions in the law are held by women, including the Chief Justice of Australia, Justice Kiefel, the Chief Justices of Victoria, Queensland and the ACT, and the Chief Judge in Equity in this state. Almost half of the state's magistracy, the local court magistrates, are now female, as is the current president of the Law Society of New South Wales. And so the profession is more diverse than ever before, and this is something we should celebrate but not be complacent about. The profession, the legal profession, is only as strong as it is diverse. Community confidence in the administration of justice is enhanced when the people practising, applying and enforcing the law are representative of the wider community. An inclusive profession also strengthens access to justice by providing culturally and gender-sensitive services. No one, irrespective of their gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, religion, disability or socio-economic background, should be left out or left behind from pursuing a career in the law. Both the Law Society and the New South Wales Bar Association are, I should note, agents for change in this regard and have been actively engaged in broadening the profession and ensuring inclusion of all groups. There's also an important increasing recognition that more must be done to ensure all lawyers have a safe workplace free from sexual harassment, discrimination and bullying. The normalisation of working from home, which has arisen over the past year, will make, I think, the profession more family-friendly long after the pandemic passes, and recent changes to the Legal Services Award will better protect the well-being of new graduates. Another feature of the modern legal profession is the greater awareness of and sensitivity to mental health and well-being. Even aside from the pressures of the pandemic, there will be times in your career when you may be struggling at work and when you feel disheartened or overwhelmed. Looking after your mental health is not something to be ashamed of. You should take the time when needed to seek professional help and turn to the enduring things in your life, like your family, partners or friends. Both the Law Society of New South Wales and the New South Wales Bar Association, again, have some excellent resources to assist in facilitating the health and well-being of their members. Now, an important part of this occasion is to remind you that in joining this profession, you have agreed to uphold particular ethical rules and values. You're not only joining a profession, but one of a particular kind. The role of lawyers as officers of the court means you are subjected to a body of ethical rules that is different from and more demanding than those that are imposed on ordinary members of society. We make no apology for that. Trust, honesty and integrity are cardinal requirements in this profession. Where those qualities are absent, as regrettably they sometimes are, those practitioners are called out and stripped of the status that has been conferred on you today. That status is a privilege, not a right, and this is important always to remember. At a time when mistrust in many institutions is rife and there has been an erosion of respect for them, it is your duty, and indeed is in your own interests, to foster and preserve public confidence in the legal profession. It is, after all, to the legal profession that citizens look when their liberty or well-being, be it personal or financial, is at stake. Respect for the courts and those who practice in them is at the bedrock of a civilised society. This sentiment runs particularly true in these current unprecedented times. You're all becoming lawyers at a time like no other. The world is still reeling from the turmoil of a global pandemic, which has generated fear and uncertainty, destroyed livelihoods and curtailed movements across suburbs, states and countries. But as I said before, despite the crisis, the rule of law has not been suspended, and now, as an officer of the court, you're a trustee of the rule of law. It requires the fair and consistent application of laws by institutions of integrity in which legal practitioners participate at all times with honesty and integrity. History has taught us that human rights are at their most vulnerable in times of crisis, and it is to the courts that citizens look to uphold the rule of law. Irrespective of whether you practice in a commercial firm, a community legal centre, or pursue a career outside the law altogether, I encourage you to use your legal knowledge and capacity for critical thinking and service for the public good. Those of you who do go into practice should participate as widely as you can in the extracurricular activities which the legal profession permits. There are hundreds of lawyers who volunteer in all walks of life, some legal, with the Law Society, the Bar Association, by acting pro bono, by participating in community legal centres, by participating more broadly in societies amongst the community. People with legal qualifications are valuable, and to play a role beyond your normal 9 to 5, although I fully appreciate 9 to 5 is not an accurate description of work hours, people who participate beyond that in the community play a very important role. Those of you who do go into practice must also uphold a duty of competence. You now have the privilege of conducting yourself as a lawyer because you have proven that you are capable of understanding our complex system of law. But the knowledge you gained at law school is worthless unless you retain it, strengthen it, and increase it. The learning never stops. By continuing to update your knowledge, you'll be in the best position to serve your clients, and the wider legal system will benefit. Courage and moral fortitude are other qualities which you should aim to bring to your work as a lawyer. You do no one, least of all your clients, a service by telling them simply what they wish to hear. At a personal level, be warned that some setbacks and disappointments inevitably lie ahead, but fortunately, collegiality far outweighs competitiveness in this profession, and you have today joined a profession whose support will prove invaluable. Finally, I would urge you to try and strike a balance in everything you do. The best and wisest lawyers are those who are well balanced. And my own personal credo, never forget to have fun and don't take life too seriously. The law, I have found, is a marvellous, important and rewarding career on so many levels. Embrace and enjoy it. And so on behalf of the Chief Justice, my colleagues on the bench and indeed all of the judges of the Supreme Court, may I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
All stand. This honourable court is now adjourned. God save the Queen.